Welcome to episode 7 of Insight, the Stripped Back podcast, and I'm your host, Stephen Buckley. It's a growing trend that we're seeing more young tradespeople choose to leave their home country where they've obtained their skills and their qualifications in search for better job opportunities, higher wages, or a more desirable work-life balance abroad. There are challenges and obstacles involved when emigrating, and on this episode we'll delve deeper into them when I chat to Glen McNamara, an Irish electrician currently working in Australia. But before we get into that, here's the next instalment of The Overload.
The Overload, featuring Keith Delahan.
This week's instalment comes to you courtesy of Robus Lighting. An Irish-owned company, Robus have a range of lighting solutions that are proven and trusted by 3,000 plus stockists and thousands of installers internationally. Head over to robus.com to check out their range of products. Right, Keith, we're back again, and I usually start off each instalment by saying how's your week been, so I guess we'll start with that again. How have you been?
Yeah, been grand this week. I'm trying to be a bit more positive this week. See, every time you seem to ask me, I seem to be moaning about workloads and stuff, but I suppose we're in a good position where work is coming from all angles, and I suppose that can only be a good thing. There's no point in saying it's a bad thing. You could be on the other end of the stick where the phone's not ringing and stuff. So yeah, no, we've had a really good week, to be honest, Steve.
Yeah, I guess I'll do the moaning this week. So I guess we had Dan from Rewired Agency on the episode last week, and he was talking about companies being able to manage their workload and obviously their administration as well. And myself and the wife Denise, we've been actually looking into getting the attic upgrade and getting the garden done. So we've been trying to source contractors to get in and have a look at that, and I think we're on to our 5th or 6th attic installer or renovation company, at least, maybe, so they're more down the lines of carpentry end of things, looking to get them to come out and even just price a job, and I think over the last 2 weeks we've had a couple of WhatsApp messages of companies saying that they were going to come out and take a look at it, and till this day now we've had nobody turn up. So I guess that just sort of hits home with what Dan was talking about in regards to missed opportunities for companies where they're just not getting back to people because they're concentrating pretty much on their workload rather than their administration end of things.
Yeah, so they're kind of trying to clear the book and maybe not seeing the next few pages after it, where they kind of have to fill the diary up as well. Yeah, I know you were actually losing the plot during the week. Anytime I rang you were like, geez, I got in contact with another fella, he didn't get back to me, and even the more reputable local lads that are doing it still not getting back to you, and I know you were showing me pictures of the attic where maybe 50% of that work is nearly done, so it'd be probably a quick turnaround for a lad that wants to come in. But again, what you're saying there is the lads WhatsApping you back and then not showing up for appointments, or saying they're going to ring you back later on and putting you on hold. And and Jesus, Dan was great there. Great listening to him during the week there. He hit home a lot of home truths, even for myself, in terms of being efficient and getting back to people, and staying on top of the books, and staying on top of the inquiries. It's a massive thing.
Yeah, it's just every missed call is a missed opportunity, and I think I mentioned that to yourself during the week, where if you are given promises back to potential new clients that you're going to ring them back, or you're going to come out and view their job, and a call could come in from a client that you've had on your books for years, and you feel like that you have to show them some loyalty, you know what I mean? So you're going to their work first before you're even getting out and pricing the new jobs. And I can understand that with a lot of companies out there at the minute, where they feel like that the loyalty might outweigh the opportunity, and I just think that they need to see the bigger picture, and I think Dan really opened up my eyes, and I'm getting a first hand experience of it now from the client end of things, looking for people to come out and thinking I'm sending a message out to somebody, and if they're not coming back to me, it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth, and that bad taste then gets passed on to somebody else if they ask me about, who do I want to, recommend to somebody,
Yeah, and like all it takes is a couple of bad reviews, and it's nearly like wildfire. Like I wouldn't go for them. Like their customer service is terrible, or we had the job ready for them there, and they wouldn't take it, or they wouldn't even show us the decency to come out, or like there is times when you can just be honest with people and say, look, we're booked up and we won't be able to get you. At least give you kind of a rough estimate of when they can get there, rather than fobbing you off,
Yeah, I seen a great story there on Instagram today, where I think a company had put out a bit of information regarding that they weren't going to make it to a client's house because they had a breakdown in their van, and just by literally contacting the client and letting them know that, like, they were actually able to get in touch with somebody actually local to where their van broke down, and actually got them a tow out, like, of the ditch. I think it might have actually been Dan as well that mentioned that, and I think, just having that relationship where you're constantly, in contact with somebody if you're going to be late, like, can make a massive difference, like, in order to keep, your reputation high with these people. Otherwise, like, once that is gone, I think it's gone forever,
And it kind of ties into, like, on my end, the Tradify thing, whereas when we book an appointment with and look, we're guilty of it as well, where someone might ring and like that message, an hour gone by, that could be the 20th message in your message library. So they actually, some of them text messages do get lost in translation. But in terms of getting back to people about appointments and stuff, like Tradify for us gives us helps us a lot, because as soon as we book in that appointment, it's scheduled in, and the client will get the email, and then if there's any updates before the day we're there, we'll update that. And if we need to change the appointment by an hour or two, most people are flexible enough with that, as long as you're kind of keeping them updated, like you said there. But that's where kind of Dan helps out as well, because he'd do that, for me. Or, what I mean, if I had him on board, like, I've Jen in the office, like, and even Dan speaking there during the week, I didn't probably realise how lucky I was that I have someone helping me like that. But I suppose most lads, maybe a lot of lads starting out, will be starting out as a sole trader. Maybe if they don't have a partner who's computer literate, or good on the phone, they have to kind of outsource that. I'd say 100%, because I started off sole trader, as and that side of the admin side of it, you can't. I just think it's very silly to try and do both.
Yeah, and I think myself and yourself had a conversation during the week where I might be trying to contact you on your phone, like, regarding the podcast and the production end of it, like, and trying to organise interviews, and
yeah,
you might be a bit slow even to get back to me, because you've resorted to not even looking at your phone, because your personal phone is actually your work phone, and trying to, balance out, like, at what point can you actually switch off from your company's, admin end of things with taking calls, and actually have a separate phone, to be able to actually live your personal life as well, and be able to link in with your friends and link in with your family and stuff like that, where you're probably finding yourself ignoring everything now because you just think everything that comes through is work related,
Yeah, and it works both ways with the phone, because I know your first reaction is the phone's ringing, someone's looking for something, or someone wants something done, or it's work related, when that's the fact it could actually be a personal call. Like, I wouldn't class our phone calls as work related. It'd be more personal. I enjoy the calls, but what do I always say to you, like, when I'm ringing you back, then when I'm getting back to you, I'd always say, like, I've read all the messages that you've said, I just haven't got a minute to get back to you. And personally, I like talking to a person rather than sending the message. I think speaking to someone hits home a little bit better than a message,
Yeah, I think it definitely is, like, a fine line, like, to try and balance it all out. But I guess turning things a bit more positive, we obviously had Toro Workwear linking in with us there in one of the previous episodes, and they were kind enough to donate a pair of pants, a hat, and a hoodie out to one of your apprentices there during the week to give them a go. And I know that you gave them a good testing too. So what did your apprentice think of them?
Yeah, he thought they're actually a good fit. You know the way you order workwear, and so, like, say you order online, it nearly 9 times out of 10 it'll come and it won't fit you in some shape or form. But in fairness, it was spot on, and we gave it to him on, like, I can't remember what day, but the next day he came in with them, and lo and behold, we were up in an attic space doing a solar inverter, and it was one of the days where the sun was out, like, so he really put them to the test up in the attic, getting into confined spaces, and you know, the heat belting on him. So no, he's nothing but good things to say about the workwear, in fairness, like, because you know, like, there's other bigger brands out there that they're getting a big slice of the pie, but there's local lads out there that deserve a chance. And to be honest, standing side by side, I didn't really see too much differences between the more expensive brands and Toro's workwear. So, and that's an honest review.
Yeah, that's good to know. And, like, you know, for anybody that, like, is, like, getting into the game, or even apprentices that might not have the same money coming in as, you know, the qualified lads, it's great to be able to support the local businesses as well, and, you know, be able to know that you're getting good quality stuff, like, and, you know, not breaking the bank to get it, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%, because some of the pricing on the bigger brands is ridiculous, like, you know, and what would you say, a fraction of the price, maybe half price on the bigger brands. And as you said, like, when you're an apprentice, you know, you're going to be the one doing the messy work. Like, it's not going to be the one going around with the pen and paper. Like, you're going to be the one getting stuck in. So to be spending a lot of money on you know, your workwear, like, it's your own choice, but there's another option there for lads that are only starting out.
Yeah, look, and fair play to yourself, Key, as well, because at the end of the day, like, when, you know, they said that they were going to donate us out the products, you know, you could have taken them for yourself, but you were happy enough to, you know, give it to one of your lads, like, you know what I mean, but, you know, he needed them because, you know, he had a bit of an issue with the pants that he had originally, so I think you're good enough to, you know, pass them on to your...
it came at a good time. He was, Sunday evening, he was doing the weekly wash of the bottoms, and put them beside the stove. Well, he thought he put them beside the stove, fell asleep, and yeah, the pants... he woke up and the pants were melted to the stove, so it came at the perfect timing.
Yeah, no, look, thanks for Toro Workwear for that, and for anybody looking to obviously get in touch with them, they're Toro Workwear on Instagram, and they have a website as well, so go check out their range of products. Moving on from that, I know you've started a rewire this week in the city centre, so you're back at it.
We actually started 3 rewires this week,
right.
Whatever way it fell. Yeah, again, large company, house to home, Retrofit Ireland, do a lot of work for them, and yeah, 3 jobs started this week, 1 in Wicklow, 1 in Inchicore, and where's the other one? Yeah, Terranure. Yeah, and also finishing off 3 jobs belonging to them as well, so the boys are obviously doing something right in their company, but yeah, so a bit of diverse work in this week. First fixing, second fixing, and then a bit of solar sprinkled in the middle.
Yeah, I was only saying to you there today, I might get out to you one of the days at the latter end of the project, and we might do a run through video of testing.
Yeah, coming out when the chasing's all done.
Yeah, you know me, I'm the clean worker, you know what I mean?
I was even hiding from the job today, to be honest.
But look, I think it'd be great for, you know, some of the apprentices who listen and follow us on Instagram to be able to see, you know, maybe a step-by-step guide into the testing end of things that they might not get a bit of a look into, you know what I mean, unless they're, you know, getting out the other end of their apprenticeship and getting in, even doing their QC course and stuff like that. It might give people a bit of a hands-on, you know, experience.
Yeah, and even the lads that are in the industrial, like, they might see the other side of it, because that job has, it's a bit of a retrofit job, so it has, you know, external insulation, internal insulation. Then we've internal walls that need to be chased, so kind of you'll be able to gauge what we do and what I suppose a lot of the domestic lads are doing in terms of grant work and stuff. Yeah, come here. What were you doing this week? More to the point.
Well, just finished up on I was leading an LED lighting upgrade project for the last few weeks actually in an office. Yeah, like, I mean, they're they're interesting enough because, you know, like from the start point you go in and you look at all these modular light fittings, you know, within the building, and they're looking to get them upgraded, you know, and what they don't realise is that, like, you know, the lux levels that they're getting out of these original modular fittings, that when you actually go to install your LED panels, you know, you're getting twice the amount of light output out of them. So what they don't actually realise is that when you're looking at a room of 40 modular fittings in the ceiling, you might not actually have to replace all 40 fittings like for like with LED panels. You know, when you actually go to look at it, you could probably lose a third of them and get the same amount of light output that you were getting before, or maybe even better, you know, by reducing the amount of panels that you put in. And, you know, when you go to do your lux level testing after, you realise that you've probably actually got a better light output for the less amount of fittings, which is going to save the client on, you know, install costs with the amount of, you know, products that you're using, and also, you know, could save them down the line, obviously, with energy saving. So that's a good thing that I always try to look into. You don't always have to go in and replace like for like, you know what I mean? Just do a bit more thinking on it and do the science behind it, and you can save a bit of money.
Yeah, and like you're kind of you're getting into three things there, where you're probably creating better life for the customer. You're obviously saving them on their energy bills, and then in 9 times out of 10 the bulb will, or the fixture will look 10 times better than the one that you've taken out, like, you know.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it because, you know, leading these projects, you know, I mean, you can have, you know, maybe 6 or 7 other lads working with you, you know what I mean, and then you get into the delegation end of things, like, so I'm starting to get, when I'm working on my own, pretty much 90% of the time I'm on my own in the van, you know what I mean, so when I get to do this, it gives me a bit of experience into delegating tasks, and, you know what I mean, working with a group of people. And actually at the minute I'm being mentored into moving off the tools and trying to move into a people management position, so getting this type of experience on the job is only beneficial for myself, you know, so that's something to look forward to for myself going forward in my career.
Yeah, that's exciting for you. And was this the job that you were mentioning, that you were going to be installing Dali fixtures, so with your Dali connections?
Yeah, so like there was a certain part of the office where the client wanted to have a section where if people were suffering with migraines, that they would be able to actually dim their own fitting separately that was over their desk, you know. So actually it was Illumina that sent out the fittings, and they sent out these Dali drivers with them with kinetic switches, you know, which is not obviously new to the game. A lot of people are using them, especially in the domestic sector, you know what I mean, but to be able to install them within the office area and, you know, try to explain to somebody that's sitting at a desk that there's a switch there that they have pretty much at their desk that can dim their lights over them. They think it's something out of Star Wars or Star Trek or something, you know what I mean? It's a great little, you know, option to have within an office, you know what I mean, where you can actually get in and program something to suit, you know, a certain section of the office separately to everyone else, you know what I mean? So
it just takes that install to the next level, and I suppose you're impressing people along the way with being able to do that. Like that's future stuff to a lot of people, like, you know, that will go home to their own domestic dwellings and they just have normal light switches, and to come into the office and have something so sophisticated.
I was literally explaining it to somebody after this.
Me, was it?
Yeah, well, I explain everything to you. I offload to you all the time, but no, it was actually somebody else who was looking to get some lighting work done in their house, and I was explaining to them about what I was doing in the office, you know, and they didn't realise that, like, you know, all this is being done, like, you know what I mean, already, like, you know, and I know yourself, like, fitting kinetic switches, like, for people for garden lights and stuff, and, you know, I was trying to get that point across to them that, like, you know, you don't actually have to wire back into the house to get your switch. Like, once you've got power out in your shed, you can literally, like, spur off that socket and power your outside lights and stick your kinetic drivers in and just have your, you know, your switch back at your door, you know what I mean? So you're saving them a lot of hassle, you know, you're not getting into the house with any type of dirty work in the house, like, you know what I mean?
Well, you know how behind people are with that kind of stuff. Like, the first person I told about wireless switching, like kinetic switching and stuff, they were like, Jesus, I don't need any power out in the garden, do I not? I can literally make light from nothing, like. But you're trying to explain to them now, you need power out in the garden.
Wireless lights.
Wireless lights, yeah. So that's solar lighting, like. But now, do you know where we find that very beneficial. Say we're going into a rewire and the house is, you know, your 60s house, 50s house, and you've got your thin brick walls. People don't want to be chasing them, like, because they're structural walls. Like, they don't want you chasing them walls. So what we tend to do now, in maybe, I don't know, a quarter of the jobs we do, is we're just sticking the wireless switch on the wall, and we're wiring everything through a JB up in the attic space. You know, all labelled up. Say you might have 3 kinetic drivers up in the JB, and then you're just pairing your wireless switches to it. And like, people think like, this is amazing. Like, how am I not paying thousands for this kind of technology? It doesn't cost much, and in actual fact, if you weighed it up, chasing the wall, getting someone on that, patching the wall, doing all that remedial work for it is probably going to cost you more than just buying a wireless switch pack.
Yeah, I think it's moving into all different type of sectors now as well. I was only on a job there recently where they did a fire alarm fit out, and pretty much like that, like you can fit the fire alarm panel, say, at the front door. Now, this was a protected building in Dublin city centre, so you couldn't really do any type of chasing work with it or get into the ceiling space at all. So you're able to fit this fire alarm panel close to the front door, near the reception, and every break glass in the building is wireless. You know, so it sends a signal back through Wi-Fi or through NFC or something back to this panel, you know, so when it's activated, it actually sets off the alarm, you know, through a wireless signal. And what we actually realised is that one of the techs who was installing the wireless break glasses and the call points around the office actually forgot to install one of them. He was meant to come back the next day anyway, but he had it programmed up with the panel and he had it in his tool bag.
Oh,
and what happens is that, see, if somebody takes it off the wall and actually leaves the building with it, it sets off the alarm because you've taken the call point away from the location, you know. So
the panel is not seeing it, so it thinks something's wrong
there's
here.
Something wrong. There's an open circuit.
We need to let someone know.
Somebody know. Like, so
safety first type of thing.
He was driving off down past Stephen's Green, and this fire alarm's going off in this building. You know, there's phone calls coming in from everywhere.
And he does what I do and don't answer the phone. Like he's clocked off probably.
And also, we're getting phone calls as the maintenance company, you know what I mean, saying like, you know, are we sending the fire brigade out or not, like, you know. So it's just the technology is just it's forever moving on.
And it's good to see, like, obviously we're on the domestic small end, and then you're kind of going into, you know, shops and pharmaceuticals, big multinational companies, and it's like the same technology just on a bigger scale.
Yeah, they're all adapting it, you know.
Like, just simple things for us as easy as, like, we could get a call from, you know, an elderly person saying, look, I need a switch by my bedside locker, you know. And like, it could be in a 60s house, you know, like, how the hell do we do this? But like, quite easily you can create a 2-way switch and 3-way switch. You can even
carry the switches around with them, you know.
Exactly, like, and some companies provide fobs, so you know, we've done it there where, you know, maybe garden lighting is connected to a fob on the keys of the car or something, like, you know, pulling into the drive, you just flick the fob and the whole light, like, for security and, you know, peace of mind and being able to, and, you know, safety, like,
it's unbelievable.
It's brilliant, like,
it's great for them, you know.
I think it's up to something like 300 meters. Most of these gadgets work, like, you know, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think, you know, for, you know, somebody in their wheelchair or somebody with mobility issues, like the likes of that, like, and being able to explain to them that, you know, they think that their life has got a little bit harder, like with some of the, you know, ailments that they might have, but you're actually giving them back some control, you know what I mean? Which
like within a couple of hours, maybe even an hour, you could have every switch drop in the house dropped by, you know, half a meter, like, right into their comfort line without actually breaking the bank and having to rewire the whole house, like.
100%. And moving on from that, we've got our special guest today is Glen McNamara. It's going to be very interesting to have him on, like, getting a perspective from an Irish man working down under, you know.
Yeah, no, it'd be exciting to hear, because you hear lads going over and getting their hands stuck in and getting through work, but then it'll be great to hear, because I have a few lads over there as well that I know are quite eager to hear what he has to say, or as we were talking about last week, the lads working with me, like, would probably love to hear from him and see how he's getting on, how he found the experience, because obviously there was two, like we were saying, there's two sides to the coin. Like, you know, people with bad experiences and people with good experiences. So it'd be great to hear from him.
Yeah, and like that, we put out a story as well, like trying to get a few voice notes in from anybody that's working abroad, and like that, that's an open invitation. If anybody wants to get a voice note across to us, you know, explaining who they are, where they are in the world, and what they're doing, like, we're happy enough to hear them, and we'll play them out here on the podcast, you know. And talking about the voice notes, we got another voice note in from a listener here in Ireland this week from Cork, Sean from Glenview Heating. So I think we'll link into listening to Sean's voice note now and hear what he had to say.
Hello, my name is Sean. I'm from Glenview Heating. We're a plumbing heating business based in Cork. We've been running now for about 30 years. We recently won an award for Best Medium to Large Business, and we just want to go on the podcast and tell us what we do and what we can offer. So looking forward to it. Thanks very much.
Right, and I'm delighted to say that Sean has joined us to give a bit of an insight into the plumbing industry. Welcome to the podcast, Sean O'Shea from Glenview Heating. Sean, thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen. How are things? It's great to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me on. It's great to have a bit of variety, in the trade, and kind of speaking what it's like to be in the trade industry, I suppose, to encourage more people along to go into trades, which will, I suppose, help the economy along the way as well,
Yeah, 100%. And look, for any of our listeners who might not have heard of yourself and your business, do you want to, share a little bit about yourself and what your business is about?
Of course, yeah, no bother, Steve. So, my name's Sean. I'm from West Cork. I'm currently an apprentice plumber with a company called Glenview Heating, the owner of which is my father. I've been plumbing for, I suppose, just over 2 years now, and I've just finished my phase 2 in Foss, which is a great time there, in fairness. No complaints or nothing. They were great in Cork. They were great, in fairness. But basically, Glenview Heating was founded 30 years ago, I suppose, in 1990. And my father came back from England originally, because he went to England, I suppose, when he turned 20, and he stayed there for about 10 years. And he liked it over there, but he said he wanted to come back home, and start up his own company back at home in Ireland. So he did that. He started off as a one-man show, started doing a couple of jobs around the place, and I suppose over the years built it up. Started taking on more staff, getting vans on the road, getting more publicity, building trust, and I suppose relationships with other builders and people in general.
100%. And with electrics having their EVs and the solar panel installs, right now it's a big thing. And with renewables hitting the forefront of the construction industry, what's the most common installation that your company are getting hired for in this renewable area?
Well, a lot of houses at the moment are going for PV panels, which are very popular at the moment, because PV panels are even better in the case where you're able to make energy all year round, and even any energy you make, you can store it in a battery or sell it off to the grid, which is a great advantage. And a lot of heat pumps as well. There's a lot of heat pumps being installed, which are great, in fairness. But there is some downsides to the heat pumps, which is electricity costs. So if your house isn't, like, if we're installing, I suppose, a heat pump, and the client says, look, we want to install a heat pump, we don't want to be using fossil fuels anymore, we take a look at their house and see what BER rating it was. Because if you're putting a heat pump into a house that's, I suppose, the BER is a C or a D, it's not great, because a lot of the heat that the heat pump is producing is going out, and it's going to cost a lot of electricity over time. Because electricity, well, it might have made sense, I suppose, 15 years ago when electricity prices were low, but now, electricity costs being so high, you'd want to have a well insulated house to install a heat pump. And if your house was insulated well and you did install a heat pump, it's a very good investment for the long run, in fairness.
Yeah, and I suppose that leads on to the way we kind of integrate the two jobs together. When you are putting in heat pump, I know with my company, Sean, usually when you see a heat pump coming in, the customer will automatically be enticed to get PV to kind of subsidise that as well. So like a lot of jobs we're doing, you'll see a fairly substantial PV system going in to coincide with the heat pump. Is that something that you have seen on the road, like?
Yes, Keith, definitely. Like if we're installing heat pump and even a cylinder and stuff like that, we'd always make sure if there was PV panels being installed down the line, that there was entry points for the panels, so it would be easy for the electrician to come along and install them, and everything would connect up to the system, no problem, and that the plumbers and the electricians are communicating between each other, so there's nothing goes wrong down the line, I suppose.
Yeah, and like I suppose all of that can be calculated as well. Like I know in terms of what we're doing, like we're working subcontract now to like one of the the warmer home schemes or something like that. That would all be calculated in energy. So you kind of, if you are putting in a say a 9 kilowatt heat pump, like the lads would work out the energy efficiency that would coincide with the PV going in as well. So it's all kind of working back to get the best kind of efficiency in the home, like. But yeah, it's great the way we can integrate all that together, like with plumbers and electricians. It's not so separate anymore, like.
Yeah, like it is great because even you were saying about sizing up the heat pump correctly, like that's a vital part, because even recently I remember going out to a house and they said their electricity bills were going mad. But the problem was the heat pump was sized too small the first day, and obviously it needs to be a bigger kilowatt, but it was a small one installed the first day, so they were spending so much money on electricity. So for them to actually save money in the future, they had to reinvest into a bigger heat pump. But that could have been avoided the first day if these people came along and kind of talked it out and said, look, this is the heat pump needed for the house, to give them the best, I suppose, best money at the end of the day.
Well, I know, like from over the years, there was always a thing that was said, where you had the trade of electricians and you had the trade of plumbers, and there was always this thing put out into ether, that we were working against each other pretty much. But I think now with the renewable energy being, so present now, and just having to work closely with each other in order to get an installation from its ground to completion, I think how important do you feel it is for yourselves to sort of coincide with each other in order to get projects done correctly, and to the best possible standard.
Let you shoot on that, John.
Yeah, I think it's fierce important, to be honest, to have the electricians and the plumbers working together, because we can only go so far, I suppose, if we're installing the plumbing side of it and the heating side. We can install so much, but without the electrician, there won't be any heat going into the house or nothing, you see, because they need to wire up the heat pump at the end of the day. They need to wire up the boiler at the end of the day, the motors, valves, all them little things that actually are very important for the heating system to work properly.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And like we work for a couple of larger retrofit companies. Probably our main one being House to Home Retrofit Ireland, and yeah, we find that all the time, like that the communication between the plumber and the electrician is vital, because like they're, at the end of the day, you are the ones putting in the underfloor zones and stuff, and you kind of have to coincide with us to get it. I suppose where your stat is going or where your rads are going, all this kind of has to be talked out from the start. Like, and I know we still do the tube solar as well, so that's something that we'd be, that literally that's hand in hand work, like where you guys be going out putting it on the roof, and then we'd go in kind of later on that day and we connect it all up, all the sensors for your collector on the roof and that kind of thing. But I think it's I think we're quite, like, especially in the retrofit jobs, we're kind of the two main players in those, in getting those houses up to the required standard for SEI grants. Like, so, yeah, I just found even the last 10 years, like the plumber and electrician relationship is probably the most important in those type of jobs. I don't know if you think the same, or your dad has probably ran through with you as well. Like,
Yeah, well, if you think about it, I suppose the electrics and plumbing in a household, they're a bit like, if you think about a body, the pipes and the wires are like the veins, and then I suppose the heart and the brain. So the heart being maybe the heat pump, the boiler, and I suppose the brain of it then being your electrics and your board for all your electrics. You see, so they are very important in this age now.
So, like, it's a big thing in the news at the minute with the electrical apprenticeships and the wait times, and there's a lot of frustrations on that end. But with apprentices in the plumbing game at the minute, how have you found your experience all around from starting out and obviously getting into your phase two, like you mentioned?
To be honest, I really enjoyed it. Like when I got called, I suppose the waiting time was a bit long, but sure, that's what everyone now these days. But I think they're making more facilities, electrical and plumbing facilities across Ireland now. Like I was very lucky in Cork. I went to our room was just made. I think they put a lot of money into making this brand new plumbing place in Cork, and we all had our own cubicle to work away, and it went very well. In fairness, we had a great instructor. We were there for just 5 months, which was plenty of time. They taught us well. They went through everything. They went through a slow pace, in fairness, but that's so every fella doesn't. No one falls behind, and we all came out of it learning a lot more than we did when we went in.
And just like your father has been in the plumbing game for so long now, did he give you much experience in summer work and stuff like that that made you want to pursue that as your career?
Yeah, I always enjoyed it because I liked when I went on site and maybe if someone said fit a toilet there or maybe put a cistern together or something like that, and you could actually see your work being done when you finish and you look at it, you say, okay, I did that. Whereas, if I was in school and I was doing a test or something, I didn't get much, I suppose, appreciation out of it than I did out of plumbing or doing something hands-on. So I did enjoy it, and I did a couple of summers plumbing before I decided I kind of wanted to do a trade in it. And when I started, I suppose I haven't looked back since, and I'm enjoying it ever since.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to be said for doing something with your hands and getting from the start point to the finish point and being able to see it operational at the end. It's you get a great enjoyment out of stuff like that. I think we're the same with the electrics. From getting the wiring in, getting it all connected up and tested, and then being able to switch it on for the client at the end of the job. Like it's you're proud of your work at the end.
Yeah,
of
there's a bit of satisfaction in the job when it's done. Or most people that are really into their trade would get that satisfaction, like, and that kind of separates, I suppose, maybe someone that's good and maybe someone that's not so good in the trade, like that satisfaction level at the end of it. Like, because I know for me and you speaking, like, we take a lot of pride in what we've done. You're always sending me pictures, I'm sending you pictures, or even the lads work and I'm sending you videos saying, look, how do you think this job is going? Like, because I know you're interested. I'm sure it's the same on Sean's end, like,
And you can see that more now on social media because it's become a more and more big factor, I suppose, in today's world. And I see a lot of tradespeople posting their work up on, I suppose, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those social media platforms, and they're getting a lot of attention. Just small little clips of how work is done, and a lot of people are coming and liking it. And even if down the line, if a client comes to you and says, "Oh, look, I want to go get a plumber, I want to get an electrician," they'll look up, and usually it was their website. You might look at their website and see what they offer and what they do and stuff like that, their prices. But now a lot of them just go on Instagram and Facebook and say, "Oh, look, they did a bathroom there, looks nice," or they did a new heat pump. There's nice lights there. The electrician installed, like, so. They get kind of reassurance that you're going to give good quality work, and that's kind of what brings them to you the first day.
Yeah, myself and Keith were only speaking about this during the week because myself and the wife, were looking to get the garden done up, and we were looking, about attic conversions and stuff like this, and we were, going around for a few quotes and stuff and getting companies to come back to us. And the first thing that I mentioned when she was coming back to me with potential companies was, have they got an Instagram page? Because straight away you want to get on, you want to see the quality of their work firsthand. So I think, from one thing, your social media for yourself is like a digital CV, like that promotes yourself, and also for your potential clients and customers, it's a great singular point of contact for them to be able to get in touch with you, see the work that you can provide, and actually make a decision there and then to say, look, these are the right company for me. So I think everybody has to sort of fall in line with the new generation now and understand that that's the way everything's moving, you know.
And that kind of leads into the question we were going to ask about Sean probably being like the new voice of his company and his dad's company, and like what strategies have you found most effective in the growth of your business, especially with so many lads on social media and the competitive nature of the market right now? Like, how are you staying ahead of everyone else? Like,
Well, Keith, we posted, like, for example, on videos. I think a lot of people want to see the behind the scenes videos. Like, it's very easy to do a before and after picture and post it up. That gets likes, that gets comments and stuff like that. But a lot of people want to see, I suppose, what happens behind the scenes. If you put a before and after picture of a bathroom, they want to see how that bathroom was installed. But that takes a bit more effort as well. You see, that takes, I suppose, tripods and more camera effects and stuff like that. But for example, I've been posting up on our platform for about a year now, and it was always before and after pictures. And I seen people post up, I suppose, behind the scenes of renovating a bathroom or something like that, and getting thousands, millions of views even. So I said, look, I'll take a video that one of the lads were crimping one day. So I said I take a quick video of him. Just he crimped a couple of pipes together. Took me 10 seconds. Posted it in the evening, and I think it got about 50,000 views on Facebook. Just something like that behind the scenes, where if you took a before and after picture of it, it wouldn't get half as much. Where it still would get views, but wouldn't get half as much.
So it's a little bit less generic than the average poster. Then it's kind of known that you put a bit more work and a bit more thought into it then as well.
I think I'll have to get myself a crimper there now to get my views up. I did notice there when I was doing a bit of research on yourselves, and we did have a chat through Instagram, that you were nominated for the best medium to large business and you won it. How did that come about, and how did it feel when you were actually announced as the winner?
Jeez, it was great. In fairness, like, it was back, I think, in October. I just signed up. I seen this thing on online, and it said best awards for Cork there, and I said, look, I'll give this a go, and I put in Glenview Heating and what we were about. And a couple of weeks later, we were announced that we were put into the final couple of companies that were brought forward. So we were invited to a pitch night then, where a person from every company would speak for about 3 minutes. So I went up and I spoke about Glenview Heating and what we do, when we started, all that kind of stuff. And my father gave a couple of words as well. And then they invited us in February then to the final, which they announced. So they brought us a big lunch and everything, and it was a full day event. But it was very good in fairness, and we won. I was delighted with it, to be honest. Got a load of recognition online, and even from people ringing now, they're saying, "Oh, well done, the award." So there's a lot of large companies there, and that kind of led to conversations and us kind of talking about their company and our company, and that kind of led to them getting contact with us in the future and wanting us to get work done with them. So it kind of led to more work, more contacts, which was great to get us out there more and get the name Glenview Heating out there as well.
Yeah, congratulations, Sean, on that. That's it's no easy feat, and fair play to you and your dad for that. And like, fair play to yourself being able to, like, suppose, pluck up the courage and go up in front of, I presume, only being like a couple of hundred people, like, you know, and like explain to them what you are all about. I think that's brilliant, like, from someone like yourself, like.
Yeah, the new voice for the company, and I say your dad's very proud of you as well.
Oh yeah, sure. He was in fairness, like, and he liked that the award was won to us because he never entered something like that before. But I think it's more and more important these days, and there's more awards out there now, even for tradespeople and electrical awards. Like, I was talking to our local electrician there, and he said he entered one there. Plumbing awards. There's loads of awards out now for people who want to enter them, and great prizes as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of opportunities came to yourselves in relation to this as well. Like myself and Stephen obviously done our research on you, and we know you kind of dabble in the healthcare sector and the domestic sector. I suppose one of the questions we were thinking of asking you was, how do you balance the demand from both sectors?
Well, what we do usually, Glenview Heating is more domestic, and we always sort out, I suppose, small problems like leaking tap or something like that in the hospitals, and then more industrial work. Then we come in as well, but we have another company in Cork who actually get involved with us and do the industrial work. So we have a share in another company in Cork. So whenever there's industrial work, we can bring them in and do it, and then bring Glenview Heating in again to do the domestic side. So we team up and bring the work together at the end of the day then.
Yeah, I suppose that's important, and that you're kind of forever networking and broadening who you know in the industry, and obviously not being afraid to take on or bring in help if you need help, because you know yourself, some companies are a bit, sometimes they're too proud to maybe get a lending hand from another company. I know ourselves, we would time to time kind of work hand in hand with other companies, you know, to try and get a job done for them, or they might get a job done for us, you know. But it just shows the networking there, and not being afraid to ask for a bit of help. It makes a world of difference. Like, so is that what you found as well? Obviously you have shares in that company, but obviously that works well for you.
Oh, it does, in fairness, and like if we give them a favor, they'll somewhere along the line they'll bring an opportunity up for us. So it works hand in hand like that. And even with Glenview Heating now, since I suppose when it was started, it's kind of been growing ever since. It got big there during I suppose when everything was going up in before the recession. But kind of what kept us going through the recession then was we always stuck to our clients. So even if there was whatever small job there was, we'd go out and we'd fix it. So then when all the big work went, we still had all that small work to come back on, which kept us going through those times.
So Sean, look, for any aspiring apprentice looking to get into the plumbing game, what advice could you give them if they were looking to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I suppose if you're interested in getting yourself hands on now, a trade is definitely the way to go. If school isn't for you, don't go straight into college and do a course you're not too sure will you like it or not. At least with a trade, you're getting paid to learn, and you're getting hands on. You're actually going to get something that can bring you around the world at the end of the day. So I think that's a no-brainer at the end of the day. So
yeah, look, we really appreciate having you on, Sean, and I know there's going to be maybe 10 apprentices that I know, plumbing apprentices, that are going to want to hear your story and where you've come from and stuff. So, like, where's the best place those guys can find your business?
Well, if they just go on Instagram and look us up on Glenview Heating, they can send us a DM if they want. Get in contact with us. We're doing a lot of work in Cork. We're doing a bit of work in Tipperary now at the moment, Kerry. So we're spanning through Munster now a bit. So there's opportunities for a lot of lads out there now.
Brilliant.
They can go on Facebook as well and find us. So we're on most social media platforms, TikTok as well.
100%. And look, I'll finish out with my last question that I ask every guest that comes on the podcast, and it's, I'm putting together a season 1 playlist, and each guest gets to pick one song to go on it. What would your song of choice be?
Oh, this is the best part now. I suppose I'll have to pick On Top of the World by Imagine Dragons.
Brilliant.
Great choice.
I love that band, actually. Yeah, that's a great one to go on.
I'm going to stick that on now as well. So yeah.
Sean, look, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and a bit of knowledge about your industry. And I just wish you best for the rest of the year and the rest of your apprenticeship. And again, look, don't be a stranger to the podcast. If you want to come on again, just give us a shout.
No bother, lads. Thanks very much for having me. And fair play for starting a podcast like this. It's very good, in fairness, for the industry.
Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Right, that was great having Sean on, shining a light on the plumbing industry and, you know, giving a voice to different trades, you know what I mean, that we're not getting pretty much the one type of voice coming in from the electrical industry. We're always welcome to have anybody on and shine the light on, you know, pretty much what they do day to day.
Yeah, and even in terms of his age and where he is in the trade and what part of his career he's at. Like it was refreshing to hear from someone so young with such responsibility on his shoulders, and he seems to be handling it, or he seems to be taking it all in his stride, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely set a benchmark now for people that want to come on, like that, you know, even apprentices and stuff like that, you know, that want to share a message. I think Sean is a great example of what
role model,
yeah, 100%. And I think from that now we'll move into the special guest segment, and we've got Glen McNamara joining us on the podcast today, all the way from Australia, to give us a bit of an insight on what it's like for an Irish man abroad, you know.
We're going through time zones as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to have to...
We're branching out,
you know, Mr. Worldwide, as they say. But yeah, look, I think I put out a note there for anybody that wanted to send a voice note across that was working abroad, albeit Australia, you know, Canada, America, you know, if they wanted to get a message out on the podcast, that they were more than welcome to do it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to listen into a couple of voice note messages that were sent in to us.
Well, lads, what's the crack? Anthony Martin here. I'm a plumber from Offaly, and I'm out in Western Australia working as a pipe layer. Working on a fly-in, fly-out roster, 3 weeks on and 1 week off, and currently in the middle of my swing here. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning here at the minute, and it's about 32 degrees outside. So it's hot. But yeah, great job with the podcast, lads. Keep it up. Cheers.
Hi, Keith and Stephen. It's just a quick little message to congratulate you on the podcast. You are doing an amazing job. Me and Bobby are listening every week here in sunny Australia, so keep the episodes coming. Bobby, what do you want to say? Hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Uncle Keith.
Hi, Uncle Keith.
Miss you. Keep the episodes coming.
Keep the episodes coming.
You're some man, aren't you? You did that behind me back. No, it was a nice message to hear. Nice to hear from Niamh and Bobby there. Jay's pulling on my heartstrings now. You are. But sure, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Like that's what happened. Families get kind of split up. They go different ways, but they kind of, I suppose, at times we'll all come back together. And I suppose what's great is you're always at the end of the phone, or even the likes of this podcast. Like, you know, you can touch people. Like where Niamh she mightn't like talking to me on the daily, but she can listen to me weekly on the podcast. Like.
Yeah, she was in touch actually there, and she sends me a couple of pictures on the Thursday on the commute to work that she has the podcast on, and she said she feels like she's at home like when she's listening to you. So it's a great thing to have, and the reach that the podcast has like is unbelievable, you know.
Yeah, no, we've got a couple of messages from people, like, you know, you haven't spoken to in a good while, and they're all tuning in, like people you know you might have got out of touch with, or you know, the likes of people going abroad, and you know, lads you would have worked with maybe a couple of years ago, you know, re-sparking a, you know, conversation with them. So, you know, it can only be good things when, you know, everyone's interacting together and chatting to each other, you know. Yeah,
and I think on that note we'll just finish up the overload for this week, and we'll play out to Sean's song choice, and I'll talk to you next week, Keith.
Class song, Sean, by the way, and yeah, Steve, I'll talk to you next week.
Take it easy.
I'll take it in, but don't look down. I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to
My guest today is an electrician from Limerick in the Republic of Ireland. He's currently working in the tunnels in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to the podcast, Glen McNamara. Glen, thanks for going out of your way and linking up our time zones and joining me on the podcast today. I appreciate it.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks very much for having me on. Delighted to be a part of this podcast.
No, 100%. Look, and I guess before we get into the world of working and living down under, tell me a bit about how you got into the electrical game and what was your life like before you decided to travel.
Yeah, so I started off in the electrical game back in 2016. So once I did my leaving cert, I went straight into it. I started off in a small automation company, and then from there, I kind of just moved around to a few different places. Went to BMS, then with ABS Engineering, and then once I went to after I came back from Russia when I did the World Skills, I was in phase 6, and then went and did solar with Kennedy Electrical, and came to my point when I qualified. So then I went doing smart meters with TLI for about 2 years, and that was kind of how I progressed through my apprenticeship. I find that when I'm doing something, if I get bored, I kind of just lose interest, and I kind of want to just move on and try something different. So that's why I've kind of been with so many companies throughout my trade. But I feel it's kind of helped me see all different sides of the industry.
Yeah, 100%. There's nothing wrong with trying to keep your brain active, and I was talking to my co-host Keith, and he was saying that he knows a couple of apprentices that were, thinking about when they qualified here, heading either down under or over to Canada. And I was just wondering, what was the catalyst that made you want to utilize your trade skills in Australia?
Yeah, so I kind of probably just fed up with work. Really, was kind of the biggest turning point. Was just kind of in a bad routine, and just I was with TLI. They were a good company and all, and I was doing smart meters, but the work was just very boring. And I knew a lot of friends who had traveled out to Australia and to Canada. So me and a few of my friends kind of decided that we'd make the trip ourselves, and that we'd try and kind of make a few euros for ourselves.
Yeah, I know when myself and the wife back in 2011, we decided, we'd try and give Australia a go and we'll head down. And we went through a company to organise the visas. And, we were trying to organise work before we left. And I knew like I pretty much wanted to get in there and pretty much do what I was doing here in Australia. So was it a working holiday visa with an open mind of what you were going to end up doing when you arrived, or had you a specific company that sponsored you before you travelled?
Yeah, so when I came out, I had nothing at all sorted. I knew I wanted to be in construction, but I was willing to try anything. Anything new would have been good for me. So when I landed out, um, I actually rang a friend of mine who had just started working the tunnels, and our supervisor was actually he's from our town back home. So he got me the job in the tunnels, and it was just labouring to start with. And I had planned on getting my license and doing all that side of it, but I kind of just fell in love with what I was doing there. Then I was kind of doing a bit of everything, and so I kind of just stayed going the way I was going.
Yeah, and look, like after touching down in Australia, like was there any recognition courses or certificates that you found out that you needed to complete before you could get stuck into doing the work that you wanted to do? And were you aware of these before you travelled?
Yeah, so the basic courses you have to do here are your white card. It's like a safe pass back home, and then after that, then there's loads of different things. I've looked into doing my electrical license, but it takes a good bit of time and takes a lot of money. It takes, I think, over about $10,000 to do it. So it's only kind of feasible if you're going to stay here for long term. I don't know myself what I'm going to do. I might only do another year, maybe 2 years, but it's still an option. So from what I've heard, anyway, to get the electrical license, what you have to do is you have to apply for a trade recognition, and that's done through a recognized training facility. And you go to them. They're just a lot of different companies, and you go for an offshore skills assessment. I think it's like a 2-day course, and once you get through that assessment, then you come along for gap training, which is basically a logbook that your employer will fill out for the course of your training booklet. And once they sign you off on that, you will do your final exam, which over here is called the capstone, and that then allows you to get your electrical license out here. But then again, as I was saying before, it just takes a lot of time and money, and I just don't think I'll be here long enough to get the value out of doing doing that electrical license.
Yeah, I remember it well. I went down the route of getting the trade certificate over there, and I remember the cost that it put on myself and the wife when we were over there. And I don't think I actually ended up getting approved until I decided I was actually coming home. So, just talking from a financial point of view, how costly is the process overall from deciding to go, and actually the factors that you have to consider before actually committing to the actual travel itself?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of cost involved. So I started off by getting my 417 working holiday visa. That was about €300, I think it was at the time. And then, of course, booked the flights, another maybe €1,200. And so once I had all that done, I landed in Sydney. The biggest problem at the moment here is accommodation. It's so hard got. So we landed, we stayed in hostels, and lucky enough, we were able to get ourselves an apartment. But between getting an apartment, cost of living, and out here, you kind of want to have a car just to get to wherever you're working, stuff like that. It doesn't belong adding up. I think I landed here November, and we'll say I got working within the month because the money was dwindling fairly fast. I'd say I spent about $15,000 in about 6 or 7 weeks between getting the apartments and getting the bond paid and getting furniture and all that. So you kind of want to get working straight away and also have a bit of money coming over just so you're covered, just so you're not stuck.
Yeah, I think it's a great insight for anybody that is, considering traveling. There's a lot that you have to like get your ducks in a row before you actually even touch down over there and get working. So, how would you describe the work-life balance over there? And was there a noticeable difference in the work ethic and the culture from compared to what you experienced in Ireland?
Yeah, big difference. It was a big shock to the system, especially for the industry I'm in. It's long hours, so we do at least 60 hours a week. At the moment, I'm doing about maybe 69, so I do Monday to Saturday. But in saying that, the way they kind of work out here is a lot better. Like they kind of have I don't know how to describe it. They seem to enjoy themselves a bit more. I don't know, it's just because they're on such good money out here, but compared to back home, only doing about 40 hours, I'd rather it out here still. We'll say I knew coming out here that I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to do long hours anyway because I came here just to make money. But I think the biggest problem is on social media at the moment. You'll see people there and they get up and they go for a morning coffee and they go to the beach and watch the sunrise, and that's fine if you kind of want to just get by here, but you definitely won't be saving any money out here by doing that kind of stuff. You want to be up at 4 in the morning, 4:30, getting ready to go to work. When my day starts, we'll say around 4:30, get into work pre-start to 5:40, and you're not home in the evening till maybe 6:30. So it's a long all day.
Yeah, and talking about your day, I follow your Instagram page and I see the content that you post. But for people who might not know what it's like to work in the environment that you work in, can you give a bit of an insight into your working day?
Yeah, so the working day, as I was saying before, it starts early. So I get up maybe around 4:30 in the morning and commute to work. And I'm working in the tunneling industry, so I'm actually working on the Western Harbour tunnel job. And I get down, we have our pre-start around 5:40 a.m. and that's where everyone meets and we just discuss what's going on for the day. And then what we do is we get all our PPE ready. So where we're working, we have to wear VersaFlows. They're basically positive pressure filtered masks just to keep all the dust out, because there's a big possibility of getting silicosis in tunnels just with the amount of rock and stuff that's being excavated. So we get all our PPE ready and then we head down the hole. And the jobs, for what I'm doing at the moment, jobs could vary. You could be driving an excavator one day, you could be fixing pumps, you could be doing concrete, you could be doing anything, which is good. I like the variety of work. It's tough. It's really hot down there. It's very humid. There's a lot of noise. There's pumps going. There's moxies and excavators. There's all sorts. You kind of want to be you want to be on the ball, because you could have a bad accident fairly fast if you stood out in the wrong area or things like that. But I like it. I love the hustle and bustle of it. It's good.
Yeah, no, I love seeing the content that you post up. So I guess it's a niche market to get into, but it's very enjoyable to be able to see all different sides of the trade. So for any listeners that are looking to follow in your footsteps, what would be the main advice that you'd have to give to them before they travelled?
I suppose just kind of look into other parts of Australia would be a big thing. Everyone seems to be kind of coming to Sydney. I'm guilty of it myself. It was kind of the first thing I thought of. Well, let's go to Sydney. All my friends are there, but I know a lot of people who've come to Sydney and have actually moved over to the likes of Perth and up to Brisbane, and they much prefer it. It's a lot quieter and there's a lot more work and accommodations a lot easier to get. So just that'd be a big thing. Just kind of just have a look at other places, and maybe even if you could kind of get in contact with a few companies that are out here and maybe have work sorted and try and look into the line of sponsorship or things like that. At least when you come out here, you're not kind of worried about if you're going to get work and trying to be, so you're not eating into your savings and things like that.
Yeah, I think people do forget the size of Australia, the fact that it's a continent, not just a country, So I think for people that are looking to go, I landed in Perth when I arrived, and I think we got to see a bit of Melbourne and Sydney. There's a lot to experience when you're there. So, like what you said, be open minded to where you want to go and what type of work you want to do. Listen, I put a suggestion box up on Instagram for listeners to ask you a couple of questions. Is that something that you're happy to do?
Yeah, sounds good.
So look, one of the first ones was, were you able to bring your own tools or did you have to buy them over there?
Yeah, so what I did was I looked into it before I went out. There's a company called Send My Bag, and what they do is whatever you want shipped over, they'll do it. So I got a box and I filled up. I just put in my Vito bag and just all my main hand tools that I use, and I had that ready to go at home. And you just go online and you weigh the bag, give the dimensions. I think for a 30 kg bag, it was maybe $450, something like that. Maybe it's pricey enough, but I kind of wanted all my own hand tools that I had at home because I didn't want them laying idle.
Yeah, I guess it's something that you don't have to think about when you arrive then and actually spend time, sourcing tools that you're going to want to use when you're there. So it's a very good idea that.
Yeah, so whatever I needed as I got it here, there's plenty of tools out here. The prices are actually very good. So if you want, it's just as easy to buy them out here.
Yeah, 100%. Question 2 was, what was your experience like traveling to Russia for the World Skills Competition?
Yeah, that was a phenomenal one. Something I'll never forget. It seems like a long time ago now, back in 2019, but it was a life-changing experience. It really brought along my career, and it was just a great experience. Met a lot of people that I have friends for life there now. 14 of us traveled over and competed at the time, and it was great. It was a 3-day competition, and it was done over 18 hours for myself in the electrical side of it, and it was tough going. There was a lot involved, and I think there was in the electrical installations there was 40 competitors, so it was pretty full on. There was a lot of nations, and it was really tough.
Yeah, no, look, congratulations for taking part in it, because I think it's brave for any tradie to put themselves forward and have their skills assessed, you know what I mean? So, well done for doing that.
Cheers, thank you.
So, look, unfortunately, we've come to the end, but before you go, I'll ask you the question that I asked every guest. I'm putting together a season 1 playlist, and I ask each guest to add one song onto it. What would your song of choice be?
I think it'd have to be Ordinary Men by Christy Moore.
Great, that's another one to add to the list. Like that, I'm getting everybody to add different songs, and by the time it's all done, I'll have an eclectic list to go through, Glen, look, thanks for sharing your story with us, and I wish you all the best on your journey. Don't be a stranger to the podcast, and when you travel home, make sure to hit us up for a follow-up chat. Now I'm going to play you out to your song choice. Take it easy, Glen.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
I'm an ordinary man, nothing special, nothing grand. I've had to work for everything I own. well, I never asked for a lot. I was happy with what I got.
Right, that's just about it for episode 7. I'd like to thank Sean, Keith and Glen for joining me on this episode. If you liked what you heard, come back next time for another instalment of The Overload with Keith Delahan, where we have a special interview with Mike Page. I'll also be talking to apprentices from various trades to hear their views on the apprenticeship system. So head over to wherever you get your podcasts and give it a like and follow to be notified when new episodes drop. Take it easy, everyone.